going to do 11-2 arithmetic sequence. And an arithmetic sequence is a list of numbers like, for example, 5, 8, 11, and 14. And if you look at those, it's a sequence because you're adding 3 every time. So 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 3 is 14, and this sequence can go on forever here. So you're adding by 3. So that would be an arithmetic sequence. If it asks you to find the formula for the nth term of the sequence and it lists it out, it's asking you to use the arithmetic formula, which you will need to memorize, in order to find the next couple of terms. This one's pretty easy, so you know just to add by 3, but it might want to ask for the general formula for this particular arithmetic sequence. So in order to find what that would be, you would need to plug in different things here to find the formula. So what T1 means, T1 is your first term. So if you look here, your first term is 5. You are finding the nth term, so it's not asking you for a specific term. Sometimes it'll ask you for like the 6th term, and that means you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'd be finding the number 6, 1. In this case, it's just the nth term. You know that the difference between these is 3, because 8 minus 5 is 3. I'll write that down so I don't forget. And we are finding the nth term, so it's still Tn in terms of n. Sometimes, like I said, if you're finding the 6th term, this would be T6, because you'd be finding the 6th one in the row. And now you would just simplify. You have Tn equals 5 plus, we can distribute our 3, 3n minus 3. We have Tn equals 3n plus 2, because 5 minus 3 is 2. And this would be the answer to your question for the formula for this particular arithmetic sequence. What's nice is now that you have this general formula, if you wanted to know what the 60th term in the sequence was, you could plug in 60 everywhere you see an n, and you would be able to find what the 60th term would be. And this was just a little example. Let's do example number 2. And this is going to actually ask you to find the 17th term, that's what T17 means, for the following arithmetic, I'll abbreviate, sequence. And again, it's going to give you 5, 8, 11, and 14. What's nice is this is the same sequence as the one above, okay? So you can just use your general formula that we found here to find the 17th term. So you're going to use this formula because we know that that's the general one for this sequence. We want the 17th term, so we plug in 17 everywhere we see an n. You'd have 51 plus 2, which is 53. So that means somewhere out here, the 17th term is 53. Now, if you didn't have this general form, you can still plug it into your arithmetic equation that I gave you at the top of your paper. And you would just say, okay, I want to find the 17th term. That's why n is 17. I know my first term is 5. I'm finding the 17th term. And we know that there's a difference of 3, so you're adding by 3 every time. And if you solve this out, you would still get 53. So you can do it either way If you already have the formula, it's just easier to plug it in. If you don't, you can still use this to find the 17th term. Example number 3 says find the 23rd term, and it gives you that T2, that means the second term is 4, T5, that means the fifth term is 22. So here's what we know. We know that we have something 4, because this is our second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term, we know is 22, based on what we're given here. So we're going to have to use our formula. In order to find out the 23rd term. So let's look at what we know. We have to use the second term and the fifth term in order to find this. Because if you start to plug in things, we know that we want the 23rd term. We don't know what the first term is, unfortunately. We know that this is going to be 23 minus 1, and we don't know what our D is or what we're adding each of these by, so we're missing too many pieces. We're missing the first term and what the difference is. However, we can use these two terms in order to find it. So we know that the second term, we're still using this formula. Don't know the first term. We know that n is 2 minus 1d. We know that we have the fifth term. We don't know what the first term is, plus n is 5 minus 1d. We know what the second term is. We can just plug that in. That's 4, right? We know what the fifth term is. That's 22. And let's just kind of simplify this so it looks a little bit easier to read. 2 minus 1 is 1d. 5 minus 1 is 4d. So again, I just plugged in the second term is 4, and I combine these, and I combine these. So now these two equations I turned into this. And if you look now, I only have two variables. I have T1 and D. And you can think of it as like an X and a Y, an X and a Y. And this is set up really nicely for a system of linear equations where you cross something off to solve for the missing piece. So I know that if I could get rid of these T1s somehow, I could now just add my D's together. So if you remember, and I'm going to do this over here, we can just distribute a -1 to everything on top here. I'll just make it a -4 because I don't want to confuse you guys. -4d, or 4, I'm sorry, minus 1d. So I just changed the signs. And on the bottom, I'll keep this one the same. This is this guy. So now I just multiplied the top by -1, kept this one the same, and so now when you go to add these, you can cross those off. 22 minus 4 is 18. -1 plus 4 is 3d. Divide by 3, divide by 3. D equals 6. Well, that's really helpful because I needed to know what D was to solve this. So now I'm just missing what T1 is. But we're going to be able to find that because we have our two equations. So you can come back and plug it in to any of these 4, doesn't matter which one. I'll just choose this one. 4 equals T1 plus 1 times 6, because I'm plugging in 6 for my D, 4 equals T1 plus 6. Subtract 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. So T1 is 2. So now you have your T1 and what D is, so you can plug it back into this up here so that we can find the 23rd term. So I'm going to recopy this down here. So remember, you're using your formula, which I've written several times. Let's plug it all in. We're finding the 23rd term because that's what it asked us originally. Our first term is 2. N is 23 because this is 23. And we're adding everything by 6. So I have the 23rd term equals 2 plus 23 minus 1 is 22 times 6. And when you solve this, you get that the 23rd term is 130. And that's what it's looking for your final answer. So you had to use what you knew with those two terms and solve an equation in order to find the missing parts. Let's do example number 4. When it asks you tonight on your homework to find the arithmetic mean of, and then it'll give you two numbers. In this case, it's going to give you 4 and 9. All you need to do is, because mean means you add them together and divide by how many, well, we have two numbers, so we can just add them together and divide by 2. You get 13 over 2, which is 6.5. That's your arithmetic mean. So you just add them together and divide by 2, because mean is the average. Add them together, divide by 2. If it asks you to insert 4 arithmetic means between two numbers, in this case those numbers are 15 and 50. This is what it means visually. You have the number 15 and you have the number 50. It wants 4 arithmetic means between these. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to use your equation like you do on all of these problems for your formula. And you always use the last one, and we know that that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know that this is the 6th term. So the 6th term is 50. So T6 is 50. The first term is 15. We were finding the 6th term here, or using the 6th term. And now we have to find what D is. Because once we have what D is, I can just add that to find these missing pieces. So let's solve this. I have 50 equals 15 plus 6 minus 1 is 5. I subtract 15. I have 35 equals 5D. I divide by 5. D equals 7. So now that I have my difference, I could find what these numbers are. So 15 plus 7 is 22. 22 plus 7 is 29. 29 plus 7 is 43. 36. Hello. Skip one. 36. 36 plus 7 is 43. And 43 plus 7 is 50. So we know we found these ones correctly. And these would be your 4 arithmetic means between 15 and 50. So you use what you have in order to find out what the difference is to find your arithmetic mean.